gotta say, our Jamaican breakfast here at Travel is really, really, really good. Totally biased, but that's the honest truth. It's like the one thing that I probably start missing immediately after I travel is the food itself, for sure, but then also enjoying it and eating it right here on this deck. Personally, I think it adds to the experience of the food and consuming it, as well as like having this environment. And as I said in the vlog a couple of days ago, I feel like so lucky to be able to have breakfast here every single day and start my day like this. But phenomenal. The team here does a really amazing job in putting this breakfast together very consistently. 90% of the time, this is what I have for breakfast: is Jamaican breakfast, ackee and saltfish, callaloo, yam, boiled bananas, and boiled dumplings. And of course, Blue Mountain coffee in my Drop X cup here. Happy Monday, everyone, and good morning from Negril, Jamaica. And we are on day 3 of this daily vlog challenge, which is awesome. And for those who are visiting for the first time, a special welcome to you. My name is Winthrop Wellington, and here on my channel, I help you move to and invest in Jamaica. And today's topic, I'd normally be talking about on my live streams, but I had to put the live streams on pause because I simply do not have the capacity to do the live streams and this daily vlog. And the topic of discussion today that I want to touch on really is, in general, crime and violence in Jamaica, but more specifically, the murder rate. And what has inspired this topic today was a comment that was made, I think, on yesterday's video, as a matter of fact. Somebody accusing me of essentially being naive about the crime and violence in Jamaica. And to that I say, I'm a realist in many ways. I'm also, of course, very optimistic about Jamaica, and there's a lot of evidence to show why I am optimistic statistically and also in my own experience and having lived here almost 20 years at this point in time. And so I want to talk about that today. And one of the last live streams I did, I think I touched on this, which is a very important statistic that I think is important to talk about and to bring up when it comes to this topic, which is the declining murder rate in Jamaica. And for those who are unaware, Jamaica's murder rate has gone down almost 20% year over year, and it continues to trend downward. And is this something that we should be celebrating and like, we made it sort of thing? I think it's something to celebrate in terms of acknowledging and saying and hopefully seeing that we are on the right path and we are on the right trajectory as far as that's concerned. Like, we don't want to be going in the other direction, right? Who would want that? And so in that sense, it's very important to recognize, but also on the other side of that coin, we still have a lot of work to do. And by no means in any reality, I don't think anybody is satisfied where we are as far as this rate goes and just crime in general. And I like to think and look at Jamaica in the future as this very much so, and you could call me woo-woo and whatever, but like a very peaceful and harmonious society at scale, not just for a particular group of people or for people who live here or people who live there, but all around. And to me, we have the elements of creating society of that nature, but we have a ways to go. And so with that, again, I think it's very important to recognize that we are on the right path. And this stuff does not happen overnight. And this is probably one of the main aspects of this conversation that I want to hit on more than anything else, that this is not something that is by accident and is not something that happens overnight. This has been many years in the making. Make no mistake about it. And it is conscious effort put forward by, in my opinion, a forward-thinking group of people who wanted to make this a priority. And they've done this through a significant amount of investment in the JCF with equipment, with training, and with intelligence. And there are so many examples of this to show that this is not the Jamaica of the past. This is not the Jamaica that, and I don't want to bring up anything specific, but Jamaica and the JCF is a place, an organization that is moving and looking forward to the future. And I think there are many recent examples showing how much further ahead the JCF is in many instances in terms, especially in terms of intelligence. And I remember when I first started this channel, or at least I don't know if I've said it publicly, but I remember I used to think that the criminals were so much further ahead than the crime fighters, than the JCF. And I was just like, man, when is this gonna turn around? When is this gonna turn into a situation where it's like, I don't know if this is a good example or not, but me and my friends, like when we were growing up in New York, we had this, I don't know, we had this idea that the police, in many cases, in the majority of cases, like the police already knew what happened, and now it is up to them, their responsibility to prove through legal ways that such and such happened. You know what I'm saying? Because they have so much information is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like a big element of that in terms of crime fighting has been brought here to Jamaica in that sense, and that our police now are just so much more smarter, so much more well-trained, so much more informed, and it's continuing to go in that direction, where counter to my thoughts before about Jamaica and crime fighting, where I thought criminality was just 2 steps ahead of the police, I feel like that scale is tipping more so in the direction of crime fighters, and maybe is already in that direction. And when you hear the police commissioner, Kevin Blake, speak about, he speaks, I would say, he can't speak very specifically, as you know, as I hope you know, about certain tactics and tools that they have, but there is, at least I get a sense of confidence that we're not only doing things that are improving these statistics, but there's actual lives being changed, and he is a person who is very serious about really making a 180 with Jamaica and crime fighting. So that's like kind of the main thing that I wanted to talk about, or the main aspect that I want to talk about as it relates to criminality, police fighting, and again, just really hit home that this is not something that happened overnight. This was not accidental. And there's even more investment coming down the pipeline. The Prime Minister has been talking about it as it relates to putting more resources into the JCF and putting more equipment, intelligence. And it's just so awesome. For me, again, somebody who's been here almost 20 years, it's just so awesome to see. It really, really is. And it is giving me very much a lot more confidence about the future of Jamaica and the safety of all the citizens that live here. Now, as it relates to living here, right? And everybody has their own experience, and I respect it. I really do respect it. And I could tell you from my perspective in living, I've only lived in Negril. I can't speak for anywhere else. I've visited all over Jamaica. But living in Negril, it's been great. You know, we've had our ups and downs in respect to criminality. And again, I don't want to bring up any specific examples, and I don't want to jinx it, so to speak. But things have definitely moved in a very much more positive direction. And one example that I do want to bring up that I just think of off of observation, and I spoke about this again on my live stream, which I am missing, but it's the ability, or at least I'm seeing a lot of tourists just walking around at night. I work very late normally, and I'm seeing just a lot more tourists walking up and down the boulevard at night. I don't really spend a lot of time on the beach, but I would venture to guess it's the same thing. And people feel feel safe here in Negril. You know, yes, Negril has its bad parts, and like everywhere else in the world, Jamaica has its bad parts. But for the most part, you can tell there's a sense of security by people who are visiting here, especially people who've been coming here a long time. And I see a lot of them walking on the road, going from bar to bar, restaurant, or whatever business that they're going about. And I think it's a great thing. I really do think it's a great thing. Whereas before, it wasn't like that. It really, really wasn't. And there was a point where we literally here at Travelers, here at my family's hotel, we used to tell people, like, you cannot walk on the beach at night. Go on the road, take a taxi. You want to go to a restaurant, go on the road, take a taxi at night. Because we just didn't feel comfortable with our guests doing that. And now it's very, very different. And, and I'm not saying things don't happen here. Yes, things happen here. But it's a different feeling, and it's hard to describe. So that's the tourist, right? Now let's bring it back to people who are living here. And for me, and I know like one of the things that people always like to talk about is the safety of expats, which is a legitimate concern, right? And I know there are a lot of people who are watching this and who watch a lot of these YouTube videos are considering moving back to Jamaica. They're considering investing here. And they're concerned about their safety in potentially moving here, which of course, anywhere you go, it doesn't matter how beautiful it is, how great the lifestyle is. Like, if you don't feel safe, none of that even matters. It's not even worth it. And so, like people rightfully should, they are focusing on the top priority, which is their safety. And then like everything else comes after that: healthcare, lifestyle, quality of life, et cetera, et cetera. And so in addressing the safety aspect, and particularly expats, I mean, I will say that, and I've said this before, it's like Jamaica, for the most part, when you compare us to other island nations for sure, but other developing nations around the world, for the most part, Jamaica is not really a place of opportunistic crime, let's call it that, right? And unfortunately, it's particularly murders, which is like really, really bad, is that the large majority of them are domestic, right? And it's usually somebody who that person knows or knew of, family member, friend, acquaintance, whatever have you. And it's really, really unfortunate and really sad, but it's not, on the opposite side of that, the way media sometimes makes Jamaica out to be is it's like, if you walk out on the street, somebody's going to rob you. If you walk out on the street, somebody's going to shoot you. And that's just not the reality here. That's not the reality here at all. And I want to assure people of that. And again, this is one of the inspirations for doing this vlog, is to show people at least the lifestyle from my perspective and how it is for me. And so Jamaica is not a dangerous place in that way. And specifically, if you move here, if you invest here, it's not like you're automatically going to be a target or anything like that. One thing I always tell people, and I got this from my dad, especially like if you're an expat, if somebody you grew up here maybe, and you've been living abroad for 20 or 30 years, going back to your own neighborhood, more than likely that neighborhood is still the same, and the people who continue to live there are still the same, whereas you yourself, an expat, or somebody who's moved abroad, you have probably leveled up in many, many, many ways, right? And you've probably gained an education, you've probably had a long career, you probably have retirement savings, and now you have investment savings that you want to start doing and allocating here in Jamaica. And going back to your old neighborhood and building a big house, unfortunately, that might put a target on your back, right? And it's just like, these are the things that I think people sometimes get caught up in, and living in the nostalgia of their childhood or their adolescence years and thinking things are the same, or people in their neighborhood and their friends in their neighborhood have evolved just like you have. And that is just not the situation, and that's not the reality that we live in. So just something to keep in mind in terms of as you think about moving here, as you think about investing here. And transitioning over to the investment part, and this will be the last aspect of this topic that I'll speak about, is Jamaica is a great place to invest. It really, really is. And when you look at the economic figures that are out there, and I continue to talk about the debt to GDP ratio and the trend line that we're on. I continue to talk about the major hundreds of millions of US dollars being invested in Jamaica, billions of US dollars being invested in Jamaica in like singular projects. And these folks, these multinational global institutions see great potential in Jamaica. And they're looking to have a great return on their investment. And they're seeing something. They're seeing something great. They're seeing immense potential. And you know, we're not a super mature market. We are a market that is on the rise. Make no mistake about it. We are moving up. And I would love for you folks out there, especially, Jamaica welcomes everybody and every investor. And that's one thing that I really do adore and love about this country is like how open we are to folks who want to see Jamaica progress and be a part of that progress. But more than anything else, I am extremely encouraging of Jamaicans who are living abroad to consider investing here and to do your due diligence and look into different aspects of society and real estate for investing, right? And to consider it, at the end of the day. And there are just many indications to show that you can make a pretty good return on your investment. And hopefully I can show on this channel that living here ain't so bad. I think I've said this in every vlog so far, is that I feel so lucky to call this place my home. And this is Negril. It's very different from other parts of Jamaica, which I understand. And Negril may not be your cup of tea. You may want to be in the mountains. You may want to be in Port Antonio. You may want to be in the city in Kingston. And I've met people who their personality and their character don't fit that of Negril. And so with that, I hopefully, people can look at things objectively as possible. Take what I'm saying with a little grain of salt, in the sense of like, yes, I'm biased because I live here, but at the same time, I do feel very lucky to be here, and I do feel like this is a great opportunity for people to invest in, to live. But at the same time, I'm like, do not be scared based on, I guess, sensationalization of certain news that goes out there, and do your own research and make decisions based on evidence and information that you gather more than anything else. And so in conclusion, I have to say, I'm happy that Jamaica is on the trajectory that we're on right now in respect to crime in general, but definitely murders. It's something, again, to be acknowledged, but at the same time, we cannot take our foot off the gas pedal, and we have to keep pushing forward, keep holding our leaders accountable, and yes, pat them on the back for sure, but there's so much more work to do. And I would love to see, and this is a topic for another day, but I'd love to see more investment and resources put into education, like right across the board. And I understand the strategy that is being implemented right now. Like we gotta, I was gonna use a really bad analogy, but essentially we gotta deal with what's in front of our face right now. And I believe the government has been doing that. And once that is quote unquote under control, so to speak, we need to move further upstream, and further upstream to me is education in a big way. And I can't wait for the day that comes that we are investing billions of US dollars over, say, 20 years into our education system, into the structure, into teacher training, into teacher pay, all of these things, and to me, that is what is going to really be the foundation on which we build the great potential, or build the opportunity for Jamaica to reach its full potential as a nation. And I know that's coming, and I know that's on the forefront of many people's minds. And I can't wait. So I would love to hear what you all think in the comments. I am in the comments. I'm not a YouTuber who avoids the comments. And I love having discussions like this. And I think it's so important that we have discussions like this, especially on tough topics. And it's not always about what I think and me imposing my opinion on you all. I think it's, again, very important that we talk about topics that are sometimes very tough to talk about.
Let's go see if we get a good sunset today, especially after talking about such a tough topic, right? You deserve that. You deserve that. Let's see what we got.
Lost in thought, I'm tripping. Oh, I'm wishing I was feeling different. Looking for a reason why this feeling keeps on coming back to me. It's hurting me, disturbing me. Thought it was a warning. Looking for clues to see the truth, but it was just deceiving.
That was a beautiful one. Hope you enjoyed it both from land and air. Hello. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Even on my nights off, I can't even rest up for tomorrow.